Time for the business news then. European markets, of course, just about opening up. How are the markets looking then, Will?
Pretty positive so far. Let's take a look at those figures just coming out so far. It's been a couple of positive sessions actually recently in Asia and the previous one in the US on Friday. The European markets all tend to be up around, 0.4% there in Paris is leading the charge. A stock to watch is TNT, the parcel carrier. UPS has reportedly given up on its takeover bid for the company, saying that with TNT saying competition regulators in Brussels would have blocked the $6.8 billion deal. Let's take a look at how the Asian markets have closed as well. Also, as I was saying, a positive story across the board there as well, particularly on the Shanghai Composite. The Nikkei in Japan is on holiday, but the yen has been trading, of course, on the currency markets, and it has plummeted against the dollar and the euro. You can see there, this is how many yen you can get for a dollar, and that has shot up against there at the end of the line there. You can see that's due to the stimulus plans of the Japanese government, going to make the yen worth less if inflation kicks in as planned.
OK, one thing that might help those markets, just hearing the news coming in, the UK Prime Minister David Cameron saying Britain would not collapse if it left the European Union, but it is in our interest to stay. I'm sure the European markets would welcome him saying that at this stage. Here in France, though, there's been a significant agreement between employers and the unions over the weekend.
That's right. After 3 months of negotiations, no less, employers and unions have come to an agreement. They call it historic indeed. France is going to learn a bit from Germany, in fact. Employment is going to be more flexible. Within a crisis, companies are going to be able to lay workers off a little bit for some of their time, give them more flexible hours. Let's take a look at some of the agreements they came up with. So hours are going to be able to be cut down, along with pay, of course, when things are difficult, although this is only going to be able to carry on for 2 years, of course. You can't just keep people on half pay forever, and employees during that time of crisis cannot be fired. So there is at least some stability for them there.
Let me guess, the unions got a little something in return for agreeing to that?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it was a negotiation, and in return, they've got, it's going to be more difficult to give short-term contracts, or at least they're going to be taxed more highly, so that's going to discourage the use of multiple short-term contracts. That's seen as an issue here in France. You just get again and again a couple of months at a time on a contract. And also there's going to be better access to private healthcare. The deal has been hailed by both unions and employers. Let's take a look at their reactions.
The text is ambitious because there's a balance between reforming the labour market to meet our economic challenges and protecting workers' rights, especially for those whose jobs are threatened.
We'll be able to reduce the number of hours worked and thereby lower wages over 2 years, for example, while committing ourselves to improving working conditions when the economy is doing better. They'll give us the flexibility that other European countries have.
Going to move to Greece next. Still struggling to raise more revenues, are they?
That's right. In fact, the government has voted this weekend to raise taxes and try to cut down on tax evasion. Also, of course, electricity bills are going to go up quite steeply for the vast majority of Greeks, putting more pressure on homes and businesses. Let's take a look.
Nikos Bellos and his wife Georgia Katsoli are among thousands of Greek homeowners who are struggling to make ends meet. They have been living off of Nikos' monthly unemployment checks, but those have just run out. They owe hundreds of euros in electric bills, even more for their mortgage, and are about to face more taxes on their home.
Taxes can be paid by those who have money. If I get a job on Monday, then yes, I'll pay taxes. Yes, I'll be law-abiding, but I don't have any money. What am I supposed to pay?
The new law, approved by Parliament on Saturday, aims to simplify the tax code and cut down on tax evasion. It limits or scraps tax breaks for farmers and the self-employed, raises tax rates on corporations and middle and high-class earners, and imposes emergency taxes on property owners, even unemployed ones like Nikos and Georgia.
The problem today is that the government has chosen real estate private property to pay practically for the whole national debt of Greece. And that's a disgrace.
The tax reforms, along with massive cuts in public spending, are required for Athens to qualify for the next round of its bailout from the IMF and EU. It's due to receive more than €9 billion at the end of this month if the key reforms stay on track.
Well, shares in US car firms have been doing pretty well recently, and they're likely to get a further boost this week. The Detroit Motor Show getting underway.
Yep, shares have been doing pretty well because sales have gone through the roof, really, in the last 12 months. Sales up 13% for the US car industry in the last 12 months. The Detroit Motor Show obviously opening up, like you say, to the public on Monday with a spring in its step. And the focus, as you can see here, this is a new Chevrolet. This is going to be on high-end models with the optimism in the air. Ford also saying it's going to create 2,200 new jobs in engineering, manufacturing and IT this year in the US.
Can cars have a spring in their step?
I'm not sure. I did wonder about that mixed metaphor.
All right, we'll let you off. Well, one of the themes of motor shows, of course, around the world in recent years has been electric and fuel-efficient cars. But how are sales doing in the real world? Kate Moody takes a look.
The next generation of American muscle cars. Chevrolet unveiled the first new Corvette in over 8 years. The iconic sports car features a sleek design and new 450 horsepower motor, but is also the most fuel-efficient Corvette ever. Fuel efficiency is still a top priority for most car manufacturers, who are trying to balance the demand for green technology like electric engines with the financial concerns of potential buyers.
Consumers, particularly in these austere times, they do want fuel efficiency from their car, but environmental concerns have fallen down consumers' priorities.
Sales of electric cars climbed steadily in 2012. In the US, for example, 53,000 plug-in vehicles were sold last year, triple the number sold a year earlier. But those numbers haven't been enough to revolutionize the struggling auto industry. While sales of electric cars in France doubled last year, they represented a mere 1.4% of all car sales. And industry insiders say the next electric models need to be cheaper.
I think we need to see prices come down 20 or 30%. I think we need to see the performance, certainly the driving range, increase slightly beyond the 70 miles or so that most models already provide. And I think we need more opportunities for people to try electric vehicles.
Car shows like this week's in Detroit could offer that opportunity, as analysts and consumers alike will be looking out for the latest electric or eco cars, as well as new versions of old classics like the Corvette.
Look nice, don't they? Well, thank you very much. That's all with the business. Let's just remind you, just before I go, of the two bits of breaking news that we've had in the last half an hour. First of all, one of those group of Islamists in Mali, Majal, threatening to strike at the heart of France in revenge for the country's intervention in Mali. And also, al-Shabaab rebels in Somalia saying that a French soldier injured in the failed rescue attempt of hostages on Saturday has now died from his wounds. The very latest on both those stories, of course, coming up. Lorna Shattuck here after the break.